I know you're going to ask a really nice question.
Well, it's an important question,
No,
I think. Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
With regard to the President's incredibly powerful speech yesterday, I think the President, the White House, made the point last night that, quite simply, President Putin cannot be empowered to wage war or engage in aggression against Ukraine or anyone else. As you know, and as you've heard us say repeatedly, we do not have a strategy of regime change in Russia or anywhere else for that matter. In this case, as in any case, it's up to the people of the country in question. It's up to the Russian people. But what we do have is a strategy to strongly support Ukraine. We've been doing that.
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine.
And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people stand in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground. They're incredible.
It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon.
And to clarify on chemical weapons, if chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind. Whether or not you're asking whether NATO would cross, we'd make that decision at the time.
And it sounded like you were calling for regime change in Russia.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, for free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
And we know
none of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.
Mr. President?
You interpret the language that way. I was talking to the troops. We were talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland. That's what the context. I sat there with those guys for a couple hours. That's what we talked about.
So when you said you're going to see when you're there,
and you're going to see when you're there,
you were not intending to
I was
say
referring to meeting with and talking with the Ukrainian troops that were in Poland.
And when you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind.
It would trigger a response in kind. It will trigger a significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
The world wants to know?
The world wants to know a lot of things. I'm not telling them what the response would be. Then Russia knows the response. None of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.